We're back with another round of playing them video games. We're going to start off today here with a game that actually runs in the browser and is made in Godot, which is always a fun time. It has no title yet. It is still a work in progress, but I have been given a link to take a look at it. So let's start a new game. It's supposed to be a turn-based like roguelike, I believe, and we have some anime characters. It doesn't really say anything. I have been given a little bit of a rundown on what each character is like. So the purple hair, I'm assuming that's this one, deals 50% of the character's attack stat to selected target, enhanced none and ultimate none. The red hair deals 50% to the selected target, so that seems the same. Increase the target's health by 50% for 2 turns when you do a enhanced attack, which just seems like this one is straight up better than this at the moment, because this one just doesn't have... I guess this is like your base character, and then these have like modifiers. Or this one just hasn't gotten the extra abilities implemented yet. The silver hair deals 50%, same as everybody else. Provide a shield with the enhanced attack to the selected target for 1 turn for 38% of caster's armor stat. That is an interesting percentage. Sounds a little arbitrary, but I'm sure there's a reasoning for that. And then the blue hair deals 50% attack like the rest. The enhanced attack will heal the target for 7% of the caster's max health plus 70. Okay, that makes sense. And then the ultimate, that's this character by the way, the ultimate heals all allies for 9.2% of the caster's max health plus 92. So I'm guessing the like default max health is like 7. Well, no, it couldn't be. It's going to say 70, 100, so the 7% would do like 77 by default, and then the other one, because it's 7% and 70, and then 9.2 and 92, so I'm assuming it's based on that or something, I don't know. Let's just start with the like most basic character, which I assume is this, and then we have like the entire world map here. There's a very low likelihood that we're going to go all the way through, but I'm assuming I can take a starting position here and choose where to go. So let's just take this one, and here we can choose basic attack, enhanced attack, or ultimate attack. So this one doesn't have enhanced or ultimate yet, so we just do a basic attack, and then we click on that dude. He just died. Well, that's a bad start. After we've been defeated, we can still get upgrades, so I guess we definitely need more HP because we just died. And then we still can move on. So far it seems like there's not such a thing as a death state, which, I mean, that... Oh no, there is, I just don't have a character to play with. Okay, let's restart. That seems like a bit of an oversight to not have a death state built into your game. We're gonna need to start a new game, obviously. Select your team. You can just select everything. Okay. Still seems like you probably should implement a death state before it actually is like considered anywhere near playable. But we... Okay, so I guess this is based on like their speed stats, who goes first. I've played Final Fantasy before. I guess we just attack that one, and then we attack that one again. And probably by default just has the basic attack selected, right? So I can just click. Yeah. Alright, so this is how we do. And that's not going to quite finish off the last one, but at least nobody died this time around. Increase all... I think actually now that I noticed that we have multiple characters, increasing the attack might make more sense here. For now, I don't think the speed necessarily is something that I need to upgrade because I attacked before all the enemies anyway. And it seems like the map here is actually procedurally generated, the like world map from level to level. So that's actually kind of nice. That's really quite cool. I'm guessing it just has like 4... Oh, no, it doesn't. I was going to say, I'm guessing it just has like 4 nodes on every layer, and the connections are randomized, and then the like type is randomized. But this here has way more than 4, and so does this. So it seems to be a little bit more complex than that, which is cool. That said though, I'm going to need to heal at some point. So this is the red-haired person. Increases the target's health for 50% for 2 turns. So I can see how this could potentially go wrong, because this girl, is almost dead. So I think if I use the enhance here, after 2 turns, it's going to reset back to normal. How is it going to deal with that, I wonder? I guess we'll see. Then we have the silver hair provide a shield. Usually I'd probably put it on this, but I'm trying to like test whether or not there's going to be any weirdness with the HP resetting. So this one doesn't have an ultimate, so I guess we just attack. And this one could heal, but again, we're not going to do that because I want to figure out what happens when this thing reverts. So let's see if we... I mean, it would be helpful if you like actually attacked this character. We might not get to see that because nobody attacked that character. Well, okay. I'm going to keep increasing attack for now because I kind of want to... Oh, I can heal. That's nice. So I guess we're not going to... Yeah, okay. That character isn't almost dead now, so we don't really need to worry about that anymore. I still do want to test that out. I'm going to try to like manufacture a situation where that can happen, because I am like mildly curious, or maybe increasing health a little bit doesn't hurt. I am mildly curious. I can heal a lot. Holy hell. Everything is just turned into heal? This seems a little buggy. Ah, there we go. Okay. I think that was slightly bugged. I would have to assume that that is a bug. Anyway, I still want to manufacture a situation where I can test this theory of mine to see how it deals with it. Because what I assume is that it just like doubles the max HP and then it just resets back. But before I can test that, yes, okay, now we have... Hold on, does this 116 here and this 130, does that represent its current HP or its max HP? Because I think it just said a different number a moment ago. Let's figure that out. So yeah, no, this is the current HP. Okay, that is not necessarily very intuitive. Because if you put a 0 here and a number here, the implication would be that this would be the max HP, not the current HP. I would probably put the current HP inside of the bar, or in the middle of the bar. That is not the way that I would personally present that, I don't think. But yeah, let's see. We can heal. I don't think I'm going to get to test that theory. I think I had one chance to test the theory and the RNG just decided not to kill me, which is fine. But again, I'm getting a lot of healing nodes. It feels like maybe that shouldn't be the case. And now I have finished. So it feels like there's a bit more work to be done on this game. To be sure, like aside from things like the UI thing, I think a lot of the overworld stuff here is just kind of bugged. And the death state just doesn't seem to be working, which are like two fairly important parts of this. So I would advise to give it a little bit more time in the oven. It is a fun idea though, like having this, to me it is almost like a Final Fantasy-esque like battle system, like turn-based, with this like roguelike world map, which yeah, it does remind me very much of Spire. That is a neat idea. I like that idea. It also says something about this game implementing like a copy almost of the gameplay ability system within Godot, obviously, because it's not Unreal. It's kind of hard to test out how that works and if it works properly. That's one of the things that I wanted to try with like that HP thing. I didn't get really an opportunity to. So for now, that seems to work well enough, but I think it also just needs a bit more implementation for all that to like function and be testable, right? This seems to be fairly early in like prototyping stages at the moment, which is fine. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. Next up, we have a game called Cleaning. This one is made on Unreal Engine, which is not particularly a surprise, of course, since most of the people watching this channel likely use Unreal Engine. So let's start a new game and see where we go from there. I think I just maybe skip through something there. First and foremost, like the retro aesthetic immediately, of course. This facility is on a lockdown. Proceed to the nearest security console to activate the cleaning protocol. So are we doing like a... How can I turn? Did it not capture my mouse properly? I think it might not have captured my mouse properly. Hold on. Let's see if I can restart, because I think that might have been a problem. No, actually, it has definitely captured my mouse because I can click on things. It's just kind of weird with how it works. Like, security, like, pull. Do I need to do anything with this? Okay, immediately that's... I can't help but feel like I'm not supposed to have my mouse cursor in this portion of the game. But maybe if we go into options, we can see something. Yeah, this menu actually doesn't work that well. Or maybe options just... Yeah, this menu just is kind of messed up. I think there's something wrong with the like cursor capturing going on. So what I assume happened here, which is actually a pretty good thing to like be mindful of, is that this game has mostly been tested within the engine, within the viewport, without like making a build and testing it as a standalone game regularly. And there's some things like this gameplay stuff where you don't really like capture the mouse, I don't think. Or there's some problem with capturing the mouse somehow. Unless there's something else that I'm missing entirely. But at the moment I can only seem to walk forward and backward, and there's not really any other keys that seem to... Oh, Q and E, okay. So, and that just rotates you 90 degrees. Okay, that's actually like, we're doing properly like old retro gaming stuff here. That's actually quite cool. I'm still going to talk about my like little spiel there, because it is good to like point out, even if it's not particularly relevant to this game. I would probably hide the cursor still though, if the cursor isn't relevant, but maybe the cursor is relevant. Hold on, maybe that is an assumption that I'm making, because maybe I click on this. Okay, never mind. Setting a custom cursor widget would also help still like make sure that the player understands that the cursor is actually like a game element instead of a Windows element at this point. Even if it's technically a Windows element and you go over into the game view, it'll display the widget cursor. But just like as a means of communication to your player, it helps to not necessarily have like the default Windows cursor here. So let's see if we can now open up that door. Anyway, as I was saying, not particularly relevant to this game in the end, but making regular like actual like packaged builds of your games to do testing with for things that might function slightly differently outside of the editor, like capturing mouse cursors, like whatever. There's a bunch of things that might function differently with your code as well between in-engine and a standalone build. Specifically if you're working with certain types of like data assets, and if you're relying on assets being loaded. If you're inside of the Unreal editor, the assets are likely going to be loaded because they're loaded by the editor. In a standalone packaged game, they might not be loaded, and that might result in some issues if you have to manually load them. You never test that outside of the editor context. Anyway, that's not relevant for this game though, so let's see. Security measures required. So let's go check out the security measures, I guess. I would say that turning with A and D makes more sense than Q and E, unless A and D get some other value or function assigned to them at some point. But I can't seem to be stepping sideways anyway. Q and E is not like it doesn't make sense, right? Like, of course, W is going forward and turning with Q and E makes sense. The fact that it took me this long to figure out by itself is like probably an issue with me, more so than the game. Showing button mappings anywhere, like either on your itch page, which there might have been and I might have just skipped over that, in which case I'm sorry, or just like anywhere in game in like your pause menu, like in your options, like maybe this menu is supposed to work and it doesn't, and within options it does show, I don't know. It's probably a good thing, but so far it doesn't seem like A and D are doing much. So either just mapping the Q and the E key to the A and the D key instead, or just mapping that action to both those sets of keys, I think might make a little bit more sense. Or just letting people like sidestep side to side, because this is grid-based anyway, right? You've been killed. It seems like this is the ultimate gamer product, because we're not allowed to touch grass. I kind of figured that we wouldn't be allowed to touch the grass, because it seemed like that might be a hazard. But yeah, you're not allowed to touch grass, so this will kill me, right? Yeah. So don't touch the grass. Be a Redditor. I don't know if this is necessarily great for this particular game, but I would maybe look into setting your input for the W and S key for the forward and backward to work on a pulse. So that it fires like once every like 0.5, 0.6 seconds. That way you can hold forward and it won't just yeet you through the entire game, but it will automatically like do the move forward action every half a second, or maybe like even every second. But that way I can just hold down the key and not have to like press it in over and over and over again, because that does get a little bit tedious at some point. So let's see. I did see something over there. Now it's just a texture. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can make our way through any of this. Okay, so we can clean some stuff up. We can pick that up. That's cool. Don't touch the grass. Be a Redditor, as we discovered. It does make you have to think a little bit more about like every individual move, because you don't have the ability to just hold down the key to go forward. So that's probably like an intentional thing, I would imagine. Use the switches to access. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan personally of this of the font, and I'm like really nitpicking here, but that's what I do. The A in this font isn't clearly enough an A. My mind reads this as an O until it sees the little tail it has. This might not be the most readable font. I actually think it is aesthetically quite pleasing. I just think the readability for it might be an issue. I have like a mild to medium level of dyslexia, so that might be coming into a play here. I can only imagine that people who have it worse are gonna have a worse time with it as well. I don't know for people with like a normal functioning brain whether or not this is readable or not on the same level as it is for me, or unreadable or difficult to read on the same level as me. I imagine that it's not that big a deal. But this is the kind of thing that you like might want to take into account when like making your UI stuff, is making sure that it's like accessible in that way. Maybe just an accessibility option to like toggle a font or whatever. I guess I just click on this. Nope. Let's see. I don't know. Do I need to press them in a certain order? It did make a different sound there a moment ago. Okay. Is that good though? They are making different sounds. Okay. Hold on, let's press it again. I probably should have read what that thing said instead of bitching about the font, to be 100% honest with you. Let's go explore over here. This seems like a way to die. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that this is just gonna kill me now. Which I think is a pretty neat place to end off this game. So a lot of things were discussed here, some of which were not relevant to this particular game, but hopefully it's been a nice insight anyway for the game itself and as a general overview for testing and development. I do like the retro feel and aesthetic of this type of game. It's really cool to see when like a aesthetic and a general vibe of a game that was made in a certain way due to the limitations at the time being taken into the modern era and running with it and making like that thing your own in a more modern context, because this really feels very like Doom-ish to me in a lot of ways. Even more restricted than Doom, because of course it is grid-based and it's maybe more of a puzzle game than like an action game, but I do like the aesthetic at the very least, and I think that there is some potential here. Explaining the controls a little bit better maybe would be helpful, and I'm assuming that I just completely missed the point of the puzzle because I was bitching about other things, so I'm not gonna complain about me not understanding the puzzle, because I also just suck at puzzles in general. Anyway, on to the next game. And here we are with a Gamble Tower All In, a game made in Unity. We have 3 different engines today. I'll take it, I'll accept it. That's kind of cool. We will make a new save file. This game actually is just fully released on Steam, so I will leave a link to the Steam page below. That's a first, but let's take a look at it. That means that I'm assuming that this is also a fairly polished game, so I'm going to be a little bit more harsh with some of the nitpicks that I might do. Let's name the GameDevCave and let's create it. Play the tutorial. I would say no, because I don't have time for that, but I'm probably not going to understand anything, so yeah, I will play the tutorial. Hey stranger, welcome to our inn. It looks like a fresh new soul to gamble with. That always is a good sign. Yep, this is the Gamble Tower Inn. Oh, so the inn is a tower. That's kind of weird. Anyway, I'm not here to fucking let's play this. I'm here to critique it. Here we prepare for our expedition, so this is just like the place you come back to after like every single like roguelike entry into the tower, I assume. So let's see. This is made by 3 people. I should point out it's developed on Unity 2019, so you're not getting screwed. That's great. I think they reversed all that weird stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter. A game can only be played by the mouse because controller support. I get you, man. I get you. Anyway, do we actually have any tutorialization? Because I am going to be real with you. I don't particularly have a bunch of time to dedicate to reading the story part. Select the option. The warden will sell you characters and pets that you can upgrade and take on your expeditions. So this is buy a character or buy pets. Let's buy a character. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's buy a character. I like this. I like this. Look, is it 3D? Is it 2D? I think it's a 2D puppet, right? Yeah, this is a 2D puppet. I like it. Immediately gives a little bit of like personality to your game to do something. The animations are a bit on the stiff side. Not to say that they're any worse than my animations, because I suck at animation. But because of that, I can recognize when it's a fairly stiff loop. The way that I solve this with a lot of my characters is layering like 2 or 3 animations on top of each other with different like looping durations. So that way you don't really feel the seams in the loop so much. And the like very harsh back and forth animation here also makes it very obvious how it's looped, like making that a little bit more like eased in and eased out might help a little bit more. Anyway, that's just an animation thing. So coins after transaction. So I have 500 coins, this is 100. I'll have 400 left over. That makes sense to me. So yes, it's 400. We can discard him, I guess, right? Characters of clans that will get different loadouts. Even characters from the same clan can be different from one another because they have different loadouts and like different starting artifacts. That makes sense. So let's buy this dude. And now we get to buy a pat, which is a little dragon. I like dragons. Pats carry pouches to carry orbs. I'm assuming that's like some kind of like magic passive buff or something, right? Orbs are items that can help your hero attack enemies and do a lot of fun stuff. You'll see later. I am looking forward to it. Pats can also have a clan of their own. Okay, excellent. Now close this menu. There we go. We can return and we can come back later. So do we get to start the expedition? As much as I was whining a little bit about lack of tutorialization before, and this is just a thing that games have to do. Games have to tutorialize stuff. For this format of video, it's not ideal to have to go through a tutorial section instead of just jumping into the game, obviously. So, like in my very specific situation, this isn't ideal, but this is what you want. You want to teach your player how things work and what they do, but I also understand that this is a finished game, and most games that I play in like this series aren't finished games. And as I think I said in the last entry of this series, like the last video, making a tutorial generally is probably something you should do quite toward the end of production, at least after you have got down all of like your gameplay elements. Because you don't know what to tutorialize if you're still actively developing your gameplay. Once you've developed your gameplay and you're like going into level design and that kind of stuff, you can start making a tutorial while working on level design, because making more levels isn't going to fundamentally change your gameplay experience. So a lot of the games that I see on here don't have tutorialization and are kind of difficult to understand as a result. This one, we're probably only going to see the tutorial of, which is fine, but that is interesting difference to note. Click to the tower and in development. Okay, so we can also like upgrade. It's a roguelike. That's how roguelikes do. Reward board pass we can get for free, presumably. I'm skipping through a lot of the dialogue. Okay, now close this menu. So we can come back in here and like get like meta upgrades, right? These are just like characters, I guess, and these are more like generalized meta upgrades. So that's how all that works. And then we have a reward board, which is probably like specific challenges or inside of your run, I would imagine. And now we get to go into the tower after skipping through some of this stuff. We can select a character to go with, and then we can select a pet to take with us, and we can get started on our adventure. So you may take extra chips with you on the expedition by converting 1 gold to 1 chip up to 100 chips. So what do these chips do? This might be, maybe I skipped over this to be 100% clear, because I skipped over some dialogue. Every time I saw like color text, I did read it. Maybe I skipped over this, maybe this isn't entirely clear, and maybe this is an issue that's hard to fix. But at this point for my tutorial run, I get the choice to take these chips with me, but I don't know what the chips do. The tutorial clearly wants me to just take 100 with me, which is fine. I'll do that. But maybe given a little bit of context in here, you don't need to do a whole chip tutorial first, because I assume that they're quite involved with other mechanics. But just setting something on screen like, these will help you, I don't know what they do, this is kind of the issue, right? But putting something on the screen that'll just say, these will help you like upgrade your abilities in the tower, or whatever they do. Just like a 1-line explanation of roughly what they do gives you kind of the feeling that you at least understand. But maybe that's exactly what's happened here, because I kind of forgot that there was text on the top of the screen, I'm not gonna lie to you. So you can't really use gold during the expedition, gambling chips. Chips are currency used during the expedition. Okay, so scrap everything I just said, you already did that. Maybe I should play games before I start complaining about them. Yeah, remember when I said that we really are Redditors? There we go. I am part of the problem too. So I'm assuming that these are just like in dungeon shop currency, that kind of stuff. So this menu will allow you to do all that. Let's proceed. I want to get into the game and actually do a run, because so far I've only talked about menuing, which is an important part of a game, especially like a game that's going to presumably heavily rely on menuing. Play the tower tutorial. Yes, please. So how do we gamble? Oh, we have different characters for the tutorial. That's kind of interesting. With this, proxy tower tips. So we have health and presumably attack and defense. If your health reaches 0, you die. That's an enemy, that's a goblin. Okay, the enemy can attack me. Just a basic like slay the Spire type of setup here so far. Where does the gambling come in though? That's where I'm like interested. So this is presumably just a card with like 0 cost, right? Oh, now it's your time and there's an attack. It's kind of distracting that sometimes it's up here and sometimes things are happening up here for the tutorialization. I get why you're like, you probably prefer doing it down here, but when there is something relevant down here, you do it up there. But maybe having a little bit more of like an animation for this text to pop in will grab my attention and pull it a little bit more toward where like the next bit of text pops up. There is this, admittedly, but like when it changes from down here to up here, maybe what you can do is you can have like the subtitle here pop out from this line. Just, again, a little bit more movement to like catch my attention. Because I've had a few times now where, especially when it just moved up here, I kind of missed the fact that there was more tutorialization going on. So yeah, these are drag it to the goblin to ruin its day. Okay, so that's how you're attacking. Your attack response. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. This is then a like special attack thing, which has a cost of 2. And this is the amount of cost that we have. So yeah, this is pretty much just Slay the Spire so far, which is not a bad thing, because Slay the Spire is a great game. Why does it have this pop-up? What did I do to create this pop-up? Because now it's remarkably difficult to... Okay, never mind. That's fine. Is it 3D? That animation looked quite 3D. Play the next try. Choosing no order to where you were before. You know what? We're going to just do a bit of a run through here now, because at this point I want to just kind of get into it, and if I don't understand everything, that's fine. Okay, so it shows you them as cards, but okay, this is a little bit of a nitpick, but again, it's a finished game. I'm going to be a little bit more nitpicky than usual. The like dragging and dropping of these things, the collision is based on the actual crystal, but it then spawns in like this little card UI element, which the card itself actually persists as long as my cursor is on it, which is good. I like that. It's not like when my cursor leaves the crystal under it, which I can't see at the moment, the card disappears. That is behavior as we would want it, as we would expect it. I would personally prefer if I could drag using the card, because right now the card is visible, indicating that this is the thing that I'm currently like thinking about using. I would prefer to be able to like drag the card onto there, because right now I have to click and drag on something that I largely cannot see, which means that it's not top of mind at the moment. Again, a little bit of a nitpick, but that's kind of like par for the course here. Let's see, what do we have? I just kind of... If you have less than 1 mana, add 1 mana. Oh, so this gets me an extra mana. That's actually kind of cool. Move the target to the back. I don't think that really matters for now. Okay, so we actually effectively have like 2 extra mana here. So I can attack you 1 more time. And then I still have to use it on an enemy? Oh, because it still does deal damage. Huh, okay, that's even better than I thought it would be. Then we attack you. Don't quite kill you, but I can do this 1 more time. And then I can attack you, and then... Presumably, like, this might actually kill this guy, right? No, but I'm assuming that this will still deal damage as well, so that actually does kill him. Okay, so far everything more or less seems to deal damage. Oh, hold on, these aren't dead yet. Okay, let's end turn and see what happens. Oh, I won, so I understand why that works. I would personally probably prefer if I just defeat the last enemy alive to just finish the battle. That would make a little bit more sense to me. Unless there is something, like there's probably some strategic thing that you can do, even if enemies are defeated, to still like place certain crystals, to like buff yourself up for like the next encounter or whatever. It might also just be like a technically related thing to how it's coded, where it just checks whether or not everything is dead on the finish of a turn, which might also relate to battles that have more than like 1 round of enemies, which you don't want to spawn in until you get the person opportunity to like heal up. So I can see that there's potentially like some complexities where you don't want to check for the end of a turn after every like move that you do. But if none of this applies, and it's always just like, you get a screen full of enemies and it's done when they're all dead, you probably might want to look into like just finishing when the last one dies. But seeing as how this is a Slay the Spire type game, I am very much assuming that there is some strategic reasoning for giving people this option to like postpone ending their turn and moving on with whatever comes next. So yeah, I think that we're going to end it there. I haven't actually played much of the game itself, but I do think that we covered a couple of like interesting things to look at. I feel like this is a game that I'm going to be playing a little bit more of as well. So it's down below in the description for anybody who is interested to see. There's a Steam link. The last game also, I think, is going to have a link. The first game is still very much into ongoing development, so there's no public link for it yet. If you want your game to be featured in one of these, because I have a list that's constantly growing, you can add your game to that list through the forum down below in the description as well. And give me a little bit of background information on the game so that I can talk about things and understand like where you're coming from, and then we can make it into like a segment into one of these videos. So until next time, there's been 3 fantastic games, and I'm hoping to see more of you guys. And for the full course, if you're watching this in the future, it should be all up on the YouTube channel already. But if you're watching this shortly after it was uploaded, there will be a link down below in the description to the Patreon where you can find the full course. And a very big thank you to all of my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help out supporting the channel, there's a link down below in the description to the Patreon page. A huge thank you to my Cave Digger tier supporters, Sir J. Thomas,